Ending homelessness by providing a place to live. A multi-million-dollar effort to build a community of tiny cottages for the chronic homeless is now in full swing, sitting in the shadow of downtown Dallas.
Tonight, while you are getting ready for bed, more than 500,000 Americans are looking for a doorway, a bridge, or a parking lot to sleep in. Veterans, grandmothers, teenagers who aged out of foster care with nowhere to go. And every winter, hundreds of them do not wake up. But here is what the news never tells you. All over the world, inventors, students, and ordinary neighbors have been quietly building shelters so cheap and so clever that they are saving lives right now. Some cost less than a pizza. One is made from dirt. Another folds into a backpack. These are 20 insanely cheap shelters that could save homeless people's lives. And number 20 might be the answer entire cities have been waiting for. Number 1, the Igloo Folding Igloo. A few winters ago in France, an engineer named Geoffroy de Reynal was walking past people sleeping on the freezing sidewalks of Paris and asked himself a simple question. If polyethylene foam can insulate buildings, why can't it insulate a human being? So he built the Igloo, a small igloo-shaped shelter made from waterproof insulating foam with a reflective inner layer. There is no heater and no electricity. The person's own body warmth does all the work, and inside the shelter it can be dramatically warmer than the street outside, sometimes by around 15 degrees. The whole thing folds flat, weighs about as much as a packed suitcase, and costs only a few €100 to produce. Volunteers now roll them out across French cities on the coldest nights of the year. One man, one question, and a piece of foam that stands between a sleeping person and hypothermia. Number 2, street swags. In Australia, a young design student named Jean Madden heard a statistic that haunted her. People sleeping on the ground were dying not just from cold air, but from the cold seeping up through the concrete beneath them. So she designed the street swag, a waterproof canvas bedroll based on the traditional Australian swag that stockmen used in the outback for generations. It rolls out into a bed with a built-in mattress that lifts the sleeper off the freezing ground, then packs down into a bag that can be carried or worn. The design won national awards, and tens of thousands of swags have been handed out through churches and charities across Australia. The cost sits at roughly the price of a tank of gas. A student, a sewing pattern, and a piece of history from the outback, saving lives on modern city streets. Number 3, the backpack bed. Also in Australia, a man named Tony Clark went a step further. He founded a charity in Melbourne and spent years perfecting what he calls the backpack bed, a full outdoor bed that folds into a backpack. It is water-resistant, fire-retardant, and mildew-resistant, with built-in ventilation, a mosquito net, and lockable storage pockets for the few belongings a person still owns. The design was so good that it won major international design awards, beating products from giant corporations. And think about what those pockets mean. When everything you own can be stolen while you sleep, a locking pocket means you can finally close both eyes. Charities across Australia and Europe now distribute backpack beds to people sleeping without any shelter at all. Number 4, the Mylar Emergency Bivvy. Now let's talk about the cheapest item on this entire list. The Emergency Bivvy is a sleeping bag made from Mylar, the same shiny, reflective material NASA developed for the space program. It weighs a few ounces, packs down smaller than a soda can, and reflects the vast majority of your body heat straight back at you. The price? Around $5. Outdoor stores sell them for hikers, but homeless outreach teams discovered they are perfect for street survival, and volunteers hand them out by the hundreds during cold snaps. Is it a home? No. But on a freezing night when every shelter bed in the city is full, a $5 sheet of space-age foil can keep a human heart beating until morning. That is the best $5 anyone has ever spent. Number 5, cardborigami. In Los Angeles, an architect named Tina Hovsepian looked at the tents lining Skid Row and saw a design problem nobody was solving. So she created cardborigami, a portable shelter made from treated cardboard, folded using origami principles. It opens in less than a minute, closes just as fast, and folds flat so one person can carry it. The cardboard is treated to resist water and flame, and the folded structure is surprisingly strong and insulating. Her nonprofit pairs the shelters with caseworkers, so the cardboard structure becomes a bridge, a safe place to sleep while a person works toward permanent housing. An ancient Japanese paper art applied to the streets of Los Angeles. Sometimes the best invention is old wisdom pointed at a new problem. Number 6. The compact shelter. Alistair Pryor was only 21 years old living in Melbourne when he designed a shelter that folds completely flat and pops up into a solid weatherproof room in about 2 minutes. It is made from durable polypropylene, the same plastic used in reusable shipping crates, so it can be wiped clean, stacked, shipped, and reused again and again. The cost per unit is in the low hundreds of dollars. His shelters have been deployed in disaster zones in the Pacific, and homeless charities took notice immediately, because the same qualities that make a shelter good after a cyclone make it good on a winter street. A person can be standing inside their own 4 walls 2 minutes after the shelter arrives. A 21-year-old figured that out while most people his age were figuring out their resumes. Number 7. The Weatherhide Tent. A non-profit called Billion Bricks designed something that sounds impossible, a tent that protects people in both extreme cold and extreme heat. The secret is that the Weatherhide is reversible. In winter, the reflective layer faces inward and traps body heat, keeping a family warm in below-freezing temperatures without any power source. In summer, you flip it, and the reflective layer faces outward, bouncing the sun's heat away. It sleeps an entire family, sets up quickly, and the outer shell provides privacy that ordinary tents never do, which matters enormously for mothers with children. The tents have gone out to families sleeping on streets from South Asia to North America. 1 design, 2 seasons, 0 electricity. And notice something. This entire list keeps coming back to the same idea. The human body produces heat. These inventors just refuse to let it go to waste. Number 8. The Hexayurt. This one is different because nobody owns it. The Hexayurt is an open-source shelter design released free to the entire world by an engineer named Vinay Gupta. It is a 6-sided hut built from standard 4x8 sheets of insulation board or plywood, the exact panels stacked in every hardware store in America, held together with tape and screws. A small group can build one in a few hours for a few $100s in materials, and the insulated versions stay remarkably comfortable inside. Tens of thousands of hexayurts appear every year at desert festivals, which prove the design survives brutal heat, cold nights, and windstorms. Community groups have used the free plans for disaster relief and emergency housing. There is no company to call and no patent to license. Anyone watching this video could download the plans tonight and build one this weekend. Number 9. The Paper Log House. After the devastating Kobe earthquake in Japan in 1995, thousands of families were sleeping under plastic sheets. A Japanese architect named Shigeru Ban did something the construction industry thought was madness. He built houses out of cardboard tubes. The walls were sturdy paper tubes, the foundations were donated beer crates filled with sandbags, and the roofs were tent material. They were cheap, fast, waterproof, and warm, and families lived in them with dignity while the city rebuilt. The design was later used after earthquakes in Turkey and India. And here is the part that should make you smile. Shigeru Ban went on to win the Pritzker Prize, the highest honor in world architecture, largely because of his disaster shelters for the poor. The most celebrated architect of his generation earned that title building homes out of paper for people who had lost everything. Number 10. Conestoga Huts. In Eugene, Oregon, a group called Community Supported Shelters looked at the covered wagons that carried pioneer families across America and thought, that shape still works. Their Conestoga huts have a wooden base and an insulated arched cover with a real locking door at the front. Materials cost a few $1,000s per hut, and volunteers can build one in a couple of days. The city allows small clusters of them on approved sites, with neighbors and churches hosting them. People living in the huts describe the same thing over and over. The first night behind a locked door, they slept through the night for the first time in months. If you have never lost your home, that sentence might not hit you. But deep, uninterrupted sleep is where healing starts. Everything else, the job search, the recovery, the reconnection with family, comes after that. Number 11. Sleep pods. Across the United Kingdom, small charities have started placing individual sleeping pods in churchyards, car parks, and unused corners of town. Groups like Amazing Grace Spaces in Wales build insulated, lockable pods about the size of a garden shed, each with a bed, light, and ventilation, managed by local volunteers who check in daily. The remarkable part is the location. They sit on land that churches and businesses already own, land that was doing nothing. No new property to purchase, no years of planning battles, just a warm, dry, private pod where an empty patch of gravel used to be. Every town watching this video has a patch of gravel like that. Number 12, the Exopod. A Texas company called Reaction Housing asked a strange question. What if emergency shelters worked like coffee cups? Their answer was the Exo, a rigid shell shaped like an upside-down cup that stacks for shipping, so dozens fit on a single truck. 2 people can lift one, set it over a base, and have a hard-walled, climate-ready shelter for a family in minutes. No tools, no construction crew, no waiting for permits while people sleep in the rain. The units were designed for disaster response after Hurricane Katrina exposed how slow traditional emergency housing really is, and the same thinking applies directly to homelessness because, make no mistake, homelessness is a disaster. It just happens to one family at a time instead of a whole city at once. Now, before we get to the next 8, I want to talk directly to some of you for a moment. I know from your comments that some of you watching are not just interested in this topic. You are living close to it. Maybe you are a few missed paychecks away from losing your housing. Maybe you are already sleeping in your car. Or maybe you love someone who is. I put together something called the Veterans Blueprint. It is a guide filled with the survival strategies, assistance programs, and step-by-step moves that go far deeper than anything I can fit into a video. Programs most people have never heard of, and the exact order to use them in. It is written for veterans and non-veterans alike, for anyone in financial survival mode, and for family members who want to actually help instead of just worrying. The link is in the description below. If that is you or someone you love, go get it. Now, back to the list, because number 13 came from the most unexpected company on Earth. Number 13, the Better Shelter. When the world's refugee crisis exploded, the IKEA Foundation partnered with the United Nations to design a shelter the same way IKEA designs furniture. The result is the Better Shelter, a flat-pack home that ships in 2 boxes and assembles in a few hours with no tools beyond what comes in the package. It has rigid insulated panels, a solid door only the family inside can open, windows, and a solar panel on the roof that powers a light and charges a phone. Tens of thousands of them have been deployed in refugee camps and disaster zones around the world, and cities have begun testing them for homeless housing too. Compare that door and solar light to a tarp strung between 2 shopping carts, and you understand why aid workers call it one of the most important design projects of our time. Flat-pack furniture thinking, applied to human survival. Number 14, Super Adobe Earth Bag Domes. This next one is built from the cheapest material on the planet, dirt. An Iranian-American architect named Nader Khalili spent decades developing Super Adobe, a method where long sandbag tubes are filled with earth, coiled into a dome, and locked together with strands of barbed wire. The finished domes are fireproof, floodproof, and astonishingly strong. And his California Institute, Cal Earth, teaches the technique to anyone willing to learn. The material cost is almost nothing, because the main ingredient is the ground you are standing on. Communities in disaster zones and villages around the world have raised these domes with nothing but shovels, bags, and neighbors. Khalili's dream was that no human being should ever be without shelter when the earth itself is free. Stand inside one of these cool, quiet domes, and that dream feels very, very possible. Number 15, Teco Transitional Homes. Across Latin America, a volunteer movement called Teco has built more than 100,000 small wooden homes for families living in extreme poverty. And here is the incredible part. Each house goes up in about 2 days. The homes are simple, prefabricated wooden structures, raised on stilts to survive rain and flooding, with a solid roof and a lock on the door. Teams of young volunteers, often college students, Spend a weekend building alongside the family who will live there. The family contributes what they can and helps with the construction, so the home is earned, not handed down. Nobody pretends a wooden cabin ends poverty, but a dry floor, a locked door, and a weekend of neighbors working beside you changes what a family believes is possible. And belief, as every grandmother watching this knows, is where every comeback begins. Number 16, the sleep bus. In Australia, a man named Simon Rowe knew exactly what sleeping rough felt like, because he had lived it himself as a young man. Years later, he sold his belongings and converted a bus into a rolling shelter he called the Sleep Bus. Inside are individual climate-controlled sleep pods, each with its own light, USB charging, and a screen, plus secure storage and even kennels underneath, so people never have to choose between shelter and their dog. The bus parks overnight in safe locations, a caretaker watches over everyone, and guests sleep in privacy and safety, completely free. Remember the Ulmer nest from our last video, and how many people avoid shelters because of fear, crowds, or pets? The Sleep Bus answers every single one of those fears with wheels under it. When housing cannot come to the people, this man decided sleep could. Number 17, Shelter 2.0. A team of American designers created something halfway between a tent and a house and released it to the world. Shelter 2.0 is a small arched shelter made of plywood panels cut by a computer-controlled router, the kind of machine found in school workshops and makerspaces across the country. The pieces slot and bolt together like giant furniture, so volunteers with no construction experience can assemble one in a day. The digital cutting files can be shared anywhere, which means a design refined in one city can be cut and built in another the same week. Materials cost a couple $1,000s, far less than any conventional structure. High school shop classes have built them as service projects. Picture that for a moment. Teenagers in a school workshop, cutting out a real shelter that a real person will sleep safely inside by the weekend. Now, everything on this list so far shelters one person or one family at a time. These last three, think bigger, much bigger. Number 18, tiny home villages. All over North America, churches, veterans groups, and nonprofits have stopped waiting for governments and started building villages of tiny homes on empty lots. Places like Opportunity Village in Eugene and dozens of communities like it offer small, insulated cabins, usually under 200 square feet, arranged around shared kitchens, bathrooms, and gardens. Each cabin costs a fraction of conventional housing, and each one has the feature that matters most: a door that locks from the inside. Residents govern the village together, take shifts on security and chores, and slowly rebuild routines, references, and confidence. Critics said these villages would become problems for their neighborhoods. In city after city, the opposite happened. Crime around many sites went down, because stability is contagious. Give people an address, a community, and a locked door, and they start acting like what they are: neighbors. Number 19, the 3D printed village. In the Mexican state of Tabasco, the nonprofit New Story teamed up with the Texas company Icon to attempt something never done before, printing an entire neighborhood for families living in extreme poverty. A giant printer called the Vulcan squeezed out concrete layer by layer, forming the curved walls of each small home in around a day of print time. The finished houses have 2 bedrooms, real plumbing, and walls engineered to handle the region's earthquakes and floods. The families who moved in had been living on dirt floors on roughly $3 a day. Now they hold keys to printed concrete homes built faster and cheaper than anything conventional construction could offer. This is the same technology we mentioned in Austin, but pointed at the poorest families on the continent. The printer does not care who it prints for. It just prints hope. And number 20, Dignity Moves Interim Housing. The final item on this list is a formula. A California organization called Dignity Moves noticed that permanent supportive housing can take many years and enormous sums per unit to build, while people die on the sidewalk outside the planning meetings. So they build interim villages instead. Private rooms with real doors, real windows, heat and electricity, constructed from modular units on borrowed land, vacant lots that owners are not using yet. Because the buildings are relocatable, approvals move fast, and entire communities have gone from empty asphalt to move-in day in a matter of months, at a small fraction of traditional cost. On-site services help residents move toward permanent housing. It is every idea in this video combined: cheap materials, borrowed land, locking doors, human dignity, and speed. Proof that the answer was never impossible. It was just waiting for someone impatient enough to build it. So what do all 20 of these shelters have in common? Not one of them came from a giant government program. They came from a French engineer, 2 Australian students, a Japanese architect, a design student with a sewing pattern, and neighbors with shovels and sandbags who refuse to look away. And that means you do not need permission to be part of this either. Share this video so these inventions reach the people who need them. And if you are the one going through the storm right now, if the numbers on your bills are the reason you cannot sleep, please remember the Veterans Blueprint in the description below. It lays out the lifelines this video could only hint at, written for people who need a way forward this week, not someday. Whether you served or not, it was made for you. Hit subscribe, and if you missed the 20 inventions that started this series, that video is on your screen right now.